Hello, hello, Crossroads Witches and other interesting magical folks and beings. I am so excited today because I have got Krystal with me. Detroit Conjurer, y'all hear me talk about her all the time. Brigit World's Botanica. I mean, how many times can I say it in a video? Hello and welcome, Krystal.
Hey, Taren. Thank you so much for inviting me back. I love having these chats with you. It really does highlight my day. It's just awesome.
Just so y'all viewers know, we can talk for hours.
Yeah.
We do get together sometimes and do that. And we're like, oh, we need to go do stuff.
Like plug in my phone because my battery's dying. But go ahead.
I know, I watch it when it does that.
Yeah.
But I wanted to get Krystal on here to talk about a really important subject. All right. Especially as we're coming into the springtime. All right, witches, you know it's spring cleaning. And where spring cleaning really needs to happen is in here. All right. This is the perfect time to clean out those dens after we've been hibernating all winter. Put some new stuff in there. And so I want to let Krystal talk a little because I'll keep talking. What are you doing for this beautiful springtime self-cleaning, self-healing?
Well, I am a strong believer that self-healing and self-love and all that good stuff is such an important part of my practice, right? Because my practice, it helps me to heal, which means if I'm healing, I'm creating a deeper connection with the divine and with spirit. So in essence, my magical practice is helping me to heal and helping me to connect to the divine and really uncover the essence of me, right? Because if I really know what my essence is, and I can be far more authentic when I'm helping other people, right?
Absolutely. We talk about where is divinity? Within.
Yeah, it comes from within.
Where is magic? Within.
Yep.
So if you want to have that stronger connection to divinity, you want to be a big ass powerful witch, you got some self-healing to do.
Yes. And let me be very clear. Healing is not easy. It is not going to be butterflies and rainbows and unicorn farts. It is not. Okay. But the willingness and the courage to choose to pull away those layers is what matters. Right. So I'm going to tell you a couple of things I do externally and internally. So in other words, my home is an extension of me, right? If I'm not right, my home ain't right. If my home ain't right, I for damn sure I'm not right. Okay. That's just kind of how that works for me. Now, one of my favorite things to do is to use laundry bluing.
Oh, yes.
Okay. I love laundry bluing. And this is used in a lot of different African traditional religions, as well as some traditional root workers from the South.
Yeah.
Dissolve that.
Let me say something before. So
sure.
On making sure that this is within the African diaspora hoodoo magical practices. We also see it in Southern conjuring. And it seems to be along the coast.
Nice.
Is where I have found that what we're talking about, the use of the bluing. I mean, Papa swears by it.
Absolutely.
But I found if you go over to Louisiana and Alabama, those folks are like, I haven't heard of that.
Isn't that interesting?
And so I want all of you witches out there listening to understand recipes are regional.
Yes.
And if you are interested in wanting to know more about this, please, in your own books, write down, cite the sources. All right. Because our earliest that we have I know a little about the recipe. The earliest that we have of this recipe is in the 1880s, 1890s. And it was a hoodoo root working man, a black conjuring man that we can trace the recipe to. Unfortunately, we don't know his name, but for all you witches, would you please, in your own books, make sure you write where you get it from and think about if this is something that I should use. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, but I just want to make sure that, because I know how some folks get with me.
No, I understand 100%. And I love the fact that you're like, look, understand and note where this comes from, because we're not stealing shit over here. Okay. And what I give you, it might not work for you. It doesn't mean it doesn't work. It works perfectly fine for me. It works fine for other folks too. But there's always different options, right? So literally bluing, jar of water or jar, drop some in here. As soon as I figure out how to open it, there we go.
Sometimes got little cellophanes wrapped tight.
Yeah, and the thing is no cellophane, it's just paper.
Oh, you got the paper.
You know, I think it's childproof, which is why I can't open it.
That's why we can't open it up.
Yeah, it's childproof. It's coming though. So, but I'm gonna continue talking while we're doing this. So bluing is really great for a really deep cleansing, spiritual cleansing. It's also really amazing to bring a sense of calm and peace. All righty. We are in a time right now where there are so many things that are just in upheaval. What is normal? Nobody knows, right? And that's actually lending to the frustration. Yay, I got it. Woohoo.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna drop this in here.
I'm like, witches, you can get this online. Yeah. But I would hope all of you witches go to your local magic shops and support within our community.
Yeah, and I actually sell this on my website too. So everything I'm showing here today, it's available on my website.
I'll make sure, witches, I'll put it down below us. Bridging World
so
Hanukkah.
You can kind of see it does it. So the funny thing about it though is that when this dissolves, it does not create a homogeneous solution. What I mean by that is that it'll mix up, but eventually all the bluing will fall to the bottom. So you kind of have to work kind of quickly. So as that dissolves, I'm gonna go ahead and talk about something else. Something else I like to do is using camphor. Okay. Camphor has been used in East India and in the eastern area, all the way over there, for spiritual cleansing. They like to grate and burn it on charcoal, right? I personally have never grated and burned camphor on charcoal, but what I will do, go ahead, Taren.
Ventilation.
Yeah, lots of ventilation. And that's why. That's what, because I'm like, you're not supposed to ingest it, right?
Witches, it is a beautiful, wonderful cleansing agent. All right, this needs to be done well ventilated. Do it in a closed room, and you will potentially kill yourself.
Absolutely.
I'm not gonna cut it and say it any other way. This can be dangerous.
Yep.
It is so good. But initially, like in India, where you're talking about and where it was being used was in these large temple spaces. And you could like walk through it and walk off it.
Yep.
And you could go through that whole cleansing cloud and then move off of it. But ventilation.
There we go. Lots of ventilation. So I don't burn it for that purpose, right? There are people that I know who like to burn sulfur. What? Why would you do that? Right? Now, yeah, sulfur, brimstone, all that good stuff. Amazing for getting rid of everything, but you got to light that shit and run and then keep all the windows open for about 48 to 72 hours. But then the smell, coming back into that, the smell, but that's a whole other conversation, and that's a horse of a different color. Now, what I will do is I will take a square of camphor. Now these blocks come in a 4-pack, right? Crush one of these up, put it in a pot of water that I'm never going to use again to make food for consumption. Camphor, orange peel, cinnamon stick, clove, right?
Ooh, nice.
Turn it on, allow it to come to a boil, turn it down to simmer, and let it to steam, right? That steam is really good for removing negative energies. The orange peel is great. It's good for luck, so it's good for bringing things in. That clove is all about money, and that cinnamon is hurry up. Let's get it going. So it's a layered thing, right? Now, here's the difference. Inhaling the steam from camphor is not dangerous as it is when you are burning it on charcoal. It's two different things. Think about Vicks Vapor Rub, right? So you have camphor and eucalyptus that you would put into like a vaporizer. I don't know, I might be telling my age, but just say it. So a vaporizer was like a hot humidifier, right? Okay. But also like the camphor helps to remove it's antimicrobial, antiviral. So it helps remove things in the steam. So that's some of the things that you can do externally. Now back to the bluing. All righty. The more you put water, you fill this up with water, that's totally fine. what you can do with this is add a little bit of Florida water. No, that's bay rum. Let me get my Florida water. Here we go. So you add a little Florida water.
That you can get at her shop.
Yes, yes, yes. I make my own Florida water and bay rum, and then I'll be coming out with another blend of Kananga water.
Oh.
Yeah,
I
make
need
my
to
own
tell
Kananga water.
Papa about that.
Okay.
When he
Yeah, let him know.
When he gets back from Haiti, he was talking about, we were talking about that he can't get some of the product.
Yeah, I make amazing Kananga water. You know, my ancestors love it. So, but that's a conversation for another time, right? Right, right. So
we'll keep you updated, witches, okay?
Yes, absolutely. So what I would do is pour some of this, I'd make some mop water, pour some of this into my mop water, and you create an indigo mop water. That is some of the most potent removal of negative energies, right? And it clears the path. Now, here's a funny thing. You ever have those moments where you want to do something, but spirit's like, no, you about to do this shit right here, right now, like right now. That was me a couple of weeks ago because I had dreamt that I needed to make some blue mop water. And I'm like, whatever. I know better. I know how my dreams work with me. And I know better than to try to ignore it because my ancestors will be like, flap, 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 get to it. I'm cooking food, right? I'm making dinner. And suddenly I'm making bluing. I'm making bluing water. And I pour some in my mop water. I'm like, oh my God, it smells funny. Maybe my mop is sour. It shouldn't be. I don't know exactly what the components are in the bluing, right? Number one, do not ingest it. Some people put this in like spiritual baths to do a deep cleanse that way, which is cool. Just be careful that you don't get in your eyes, your mouth, your nose. Okay. Made my mop water. I'm like, it smells like sulfur. This stinks.
Ooh.
Right. So then I dump it out and spirit is just like, you have lost your rabbit ass mind. Make it again. So I made it again. Right. And when I mopped my whole floors, I have hardwood floors from front to back, which is really great for the kind of work that I do. My house literally felt like it was like, my brick home exhaled, y'all. It exhaled. It was just like, whoo, finally. Now, something else that I do, I will keep a jar of bluing water in my kitchen window. All righty. So it helps to keep anything that may be negatively being thrown at me, intentionally or not, it absorbs it and dissolves it. Right.
I love that. You know, I'm going to do that.
Go for it. You can also put this.
Love that though.
Yeah. And it works. And what's funny is I watch how the bluing eventually settles. Right. And I shake it up again. And then as I watch it settle, I mean, it takes a couple of days for it to settle. Right. But I pay attention to that, you know, and I might even add a little bit of salt to it. Just plain old dollar store salt, because what's another layer of protection and removal, you know? Another thing I'll do is I will take this bluing and I'll crunch it up and I will mix it in with salt and I will put it around my house.
That's what.
Yeah.
That's what I like to put with, like when you were talking the camphor. I have a special, what I call my baneful cauldron.
Okay.
And I will sit there and crush it up. And then I put it in just a little bit in all four corners. I will start at one end of my house and go through every room and put a little in there. I mix salt. A lot of times I'm saying one of the Psalms.
Yeah.
All right, where, you know, that whole protection, this is my place.
Shoot, Psalms 91, that's where it is.
And there are times, like you're saying, though, I'll just be standing there and I'll be like, oh, ooh, I got to sprinkle the corners again. It's like all of a sudden it hits you. And it don't matter what you're doing, all of a sudden you're like, oh, I got to go take care of this.
There you go.
You know, and it's so important that we do have our spaces, our personal spaces, are fed right, are cleansed right.
100%.
You know, it doesn't matter if you get yourself all done up and then you go home to an icky house.
Exactly. Yep.
You got to work it all together.
What I like to do is literally cleanse my house and then cleanse myself. Right? Because if I cleanse myself and then cleanse my house, all that ick is now back on me. So what I do that for, which takes me to personal cleansing. Now, spiritual baths are amazing. I love spiritual baths. And I'm a person who I really should take a spiritual bath like maybe twice a week because of the work that I do, right? But here's something else. And I love this because I have a Get the Funk Off condition oil.
Oh, I just used the soap this morning.
Did you?
Yes, I actually did. I love your, I can't, it's Get the Funk Off is the name of the soap, witches.
There you go. Mm-hmm.
And it really gets the funk off. And like what you're saying, if I've been in a serious session or I've been doing a one-on-one and I got some of that energy on me, or, you know, depending on what I'm doing, that soap, I love it. And this morning I was like, I'm going to be clean and fresh. Everything from yesterday is gone. Today
100%.
is a new day.
Yep. Yeah. And I use mine every morning. You know, I do my spiritual baths and I use my Get the Funk Off. But here's the thing. Sometimes you might find yourself in a position where you're not able to do a bath or take a shower. But if you have some condition oil, all you really have to do, and the condition oil contains the same ingredients that are in the soap, right? Take a little drop.
You're holding out on me, Krystal.
Yeah. And I use all glass. So.
Oh, I know you use good packaging on your product. But
so I do just a couple of drops. And I'm going to go from it as I'm tearing everything apart down. I'm going to go down my arm. I'm going to make a little arrow. I'm going to get the funk off. And I'm going to do that on both arms. So that way, if there is anything that's on me, it can go. Another thing, you can take this and you can put a couple of drops in your shoes or make an X on the bottom of your shoe. So you're walking in this power. You're walking in it. And can I just tell you, the shit smells so good. Okay.
Oh,
it smells so good.
I love the ingredients in there.
Yeah.
I was thinking, you know, put a little on your finger and just write a, you know,
you sure can.
Protection signal across my chest.
Yep. You can also use this in your mop water. You can use this. You can put this on like the lintels of your door or your door jambs. Because again, I'm totally dating myself. Right. But along with that, so this is kind of a dual thing.
Let me interrupt real quick.
Sure.
Witches, doorways, door jambs, very important to take care of them.
Yep.
All right. And yes, your exterior, but also your interior doorways. Every doorway is an opening.
It is. Right?
And absolutely. Always remember that we live in a multi-dimensional world. You don't want somebody from some other dimension using your doors without your permission.
100%. 100%. Now, when it comes to maintaining your mental and physical health, which is part of staying healthy, mind you, I'm not a therapist, nor do I play one on television. Okay. That is my disclaimer. But I do believe that we all need to be sure that we're thinking clearly. Okay. And a lot of times our brains get kind of muddled with all the other shit that's going on in the world that we're exposed to, and the energies and just those internal conversations. So Krystal created a clear thinking soap.
Oh, I got to get me a case of that.
And it is patchouli and grapefruit.
What a beautiful combination.
And I have the body butter too. And can I tell you, I wish it's like a scratch and smell, because I smell fabulous. It smells so good. It smells so good.
Smell-o-vision.
Smell-o-vision. But I also make clear thinking mojo bags or gree.
Oh, how perfect.
Yeah. And I have them in stripes because we want to have some kind of linear thinking process, right? When we get confused, we tend to think in circles. We don't see a straight line. We don't see A to Z. We see A, B, C, A, B, C, A, and that continues that hamster wheel, right? So clear thinking soap, clear thinking body butters.
And that would work really well when we talk about shadow work.
Yes, yes.
And preparing ourselves for shadow work, right? Where you clear thinking, you know, where when we start asking ourselves our shadows, those deep questions. It's about getting to know your shadows. Your shadows are not evil. You do not need to get rid of them. You need to make friends with them and accept some of their personality traits.
Yeah, because that shadow side, that will help you get some out of some shit.
That's, I talk with, you know, that we have to remember when we want to strive for the balance between dark and light.
Absolutely.
Not get rid of all of the dark, because within the dark is where we find things like ambition. All right. Where we talk about greed is actually a very good thing to have. Greedy is out of balance, and you're taking stuff that ain't yours.
Right. Right.
All right. And finding our healthy place in those shadows. Our shadows allow us to set boundaries, to say no. You know, and that's where I think some people don't, when we talk about shadow, they feel like, I gotta get it out. No, it's about integrating it into you.
Absolutely.
And I just did a video on shadows. If you want to go check that out, I'm going to give the same disclaimer that Miss Krystal said. I am not a therapist. I am not medically trained. I am magically and spiritually trained. And the things I talk about are techniques that I use. If you are uncomfortable, you don't go find someone else. Go talk to a therapist. I only got suggestions.
100%. Absolutely. And look, I'm also one of those people where it's like, if you really want to understand more about what's going on spiritually inside of you, baby, get a divination, get a reading, sit with somebody who can help you hold your hand.
I hate to use that word,
but it's accurate though. Get a real one. I
hate to say it, but I'm like, that $5 Facebook reading is not what we're talking about.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. And the thing about it, so here's one of my things when it comes to like picking a good reader. I am a reader and I love divining, but I'm also human, which means that I've gone through some shit, but I'll tell you about the shit I've gone through to show you that healing is possible, right? I'm not perfect, nor do I play perfect, because who want to be perfect? Being perfect is like being normal. Who the hell wants that shit? Right? But there's
also I understanding that our folks, our older folks, more experienced, the ones that been around a little bit.
And
the wisdom that we bring to the table is based with an experience. Experience is called life.
Right.
We have just as many tragedies, just as many stories, just as many tears, but we have a toolbox that we're able to use.
Right, because all witches poop. Right. Right. Okay. But everything you're saying is 100%. I agree with 100%. There is an aspect of experience that a reader should have, because not everything is really apparent. You have to look at the hints and the clues and the arrows where they're pointing and put a picture together. You have to be able to create a story out of the cards or the pennies or whatever you may use to divine in a way that your querent or your sitter will understand. Right. And if you ever sit with somebody and goes, oh my God, you're cursed, for $5,000, I can remove it. Please run. Please run. Call the police and run, please. Yeah.
Yes, that is a definite. We do have some scammy folks that have realized that if they use the right vocabulary, they can take advantage of folks. They're not part of the community. They've learned to scam in our community. And just so y'all witches know, no, it ain't nothing new.
Not at all.
I wish I could tell you a different story, but I think there was some scammy fortune teller in Greece too. All right. They've always been there. You've got to learn to, do your research. And if that person don't feel right, any red flag, get out. If you want a good reader, start looking for other folks that have had a reading by that person. Get a recommendation.
Because I'm gonna tell you, like, I don't advertise my readings. All of my people are word of mouth, and I love that. Because it's two things. One, it's protection for me, because I know if you acted a damn fool, I know who to go back to and be like, what was this? This person, blah, blah, blah. There's also this thing of confidentiality and integrity,
Mm.
Where when it comes to finding a reader, I tell people up front, whatever you say to me stays between me and you, right? You can choose to share whatever you want to, but nothing out of your mouth is going to come back to your ear from somebody else. All righty. But that is one aspect of healing, right? Kind of figuring out what layer you're on that needs to be healed. And a lot of times a good reader can tell that to you, can help you find that, right? There's also the aspect of, like I said, cleansing, spiritual baths, spiritual soaps. And of course, like I showed you my condition oil, one of them. And then of course, my sprays, Florida water and bay rum. And then the Kananga water's coming soon, right?
Oh,
so these are amazing. Yeah.
mine's
I love these.
cottage. I love the bay rum.
Yeah.
I hadn't had a good recipe in years until I found yours.
Awesome.
And as soon as I did the spray bottle, I was just like, oh yes.
So I want you to lean in because I'm gonna tell you a secret, okay? Sometimes when things are really heavy around you, especially if you're finding yourself not being able to sleep well at night for a couple of nights, get you a bowl, put some salt in there, water, and a little bit of bay rum, and stick it under your bed. Dump it out the next morning.
I can see that.
Yeah.
I can really see that,
Mm-hmm.
and all these little self-care things, is understanding. I think, in all honesty, very few of us experienced old school witches. We don't do what you're thinking, like ritual every day.
Right.
We are the magic. I don't have to go do magic. It's all these little things throughout the day. Stir your coffee mindfully 3 times. I actually do, beside my bed, have a bowl of salt and a bowl of water.
A bowl of rice is good too, because
and
that's old school. Go ahead.
But I'm very peculiar about emptying them, completely cleaning the entire bowls down. I will sit and scrub it, dry it all off, and put it back. And that's part of my self-care. I have, like you were showing earlier, a little mojo bag, gree bag. I keep my gree bag in where my hair ties are.
Nice.
Because every morning, or every time I do my hair, I'll pick it up and ooh, yes, and sit it down. You want to put things where you can interact with them.
Yeah.
And I know many of you witches have very, very small spaces. You don't get the privilege of spreading out. But you'll, like what we're talking, a small bowl with a couple of little things in there can change the energy of your room.
100%.
All right.
100%.
If you are going to be doing meditative mindfulness type exercises, you really need to be particular of your space.
You have to be.
And yeah, I know sometimes they don't, where I'm thinking, all right, witches, I know I got me some of the folks that watch my channel are new witches, and I think they feel very over intimidated. They have to do all of these things. Really, it's just a lot of little fun things that I do.
If I may, if I can jump in, is that okay?
Yeah. Yes.
So here's the thing: as a root worker, there's not a lot of pomp and circumstance. It's not a lot of dog and pony.
You don't have a special robe with magical symbols all over it that you wear?
Only my skin, but that's it. That's it, right? But it's true. It's literally that. It's those little things that you do throughout the day. It is setting up spaces. Like the way my house is protected, I just got to go and just I do my little thing, right? The most ritualistic things I do are really when I cleanse myself. Cleansing myself, and then when I clean my floors, I sweep from back to front. right? If I want to keep getting rid of stuff, I mop from back to front. Other words, I will mop from front to back because I want to track something in. That's about as heavy as it gets, right?
I totally, yes. And that's for a lot of folks, especially if they're coming out of the neo-pagan Wiccan community where they've been taught the 7 steps to ritual, and that's how we create magic. You know, you're like, no, we just
right.
you know,
right.
Tap the magic that's already within us. We tap the magic that's around us naturally and work with the flow.
And that's what's important. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
So, but just to kind of piggyback on what you were saying, I know that I can speak something and it comes into existence. And I know this because I know where my power comes from. When I'm saying something and I feel that fire, that tornado in my belly, and it's coming up and coming out, oh, shit's gonna happen, right? I don't have to be like, oh, heavenly stars, you are mine, I am yours. No, no, I don't need to do that, right? But again, I got to that point by doing my work. And another thing I did was I had to go to therapy because there was some shit that magic was not going to be able to heal. Sorry, it could have helped the blow, but there are some things that you are going to have to do to really facilitate that healing and to release.
That is so important. I'm so happy you said that, Krystal. For a lot of the witches out there, by the time you finally figure out who and what you are and you get into circle magic space, you are battered and bruised from life.
Absolutely.
All right. And that can all change. It's going to take some work. It's going to take, for some of us, therapy. I'm with you, Krystal. I've been to therapy too, because I realized I'm in over my head.
Yeah.
And that, you know, I have got to get some different tools so that I can learn why all these crazy thoughts are in my head sometimes.
Yeah.
And talking with someone and working that through really helped me. And I still, you know, 10 years, it's for 10 years ago, 15 years ago, damn, time flies.
Yeah.
But I still use those tools.
Same here.
What I learned, I still, and I teach and I share with other folks of, hey, guess what I've learned?
Yep.
You know, because I talk when we do shadow work is not a blame game. We have to learn to embrace our shadows without blaming ourselves, first of all. That's the darkest shadow we have. Blaming someone else, looking to justify why it happened, or looking to add a qualifier, giving an excuse for why it happened. We have to learn to come at it from what is called a stoic, or often referred to as a Socratic approach, meaning true objectivity. You are a third party looking at your past, able to see both sides of the situation, hear both stories, and start integrating that. A 12-year-old's hurt does not comprehend what happened in the room among adults.
Right.
You carry that hurt until you're an adult. Now you got to get out of your 12-year-old memory and put it into an adult memory. And understand that, you know, what was actually happening. And it's a process, which is, this isn't a one and done.
Not at all. Not even a little bit.
You're going to be working your shadows for the rest of your life. If you're lucky.
For sure. Now, see, you know what I love about what you said? Because when I really stepped foot into this was right around like when the craft came out and practical magic. You know, yeah, like when I really like embraced it, like, okay, let's do this shit, you know, not realizing that I had been root working my entire life. I was raised in it.
Right.
I didn't know that me sweeping off my front porch or my back porch was a root work thing. Right. Just thought it was just a cleansing. Okay, we're just going to clean. Still. However, during that time is when all the love and light, you know, oh, you know, the toxic positivity and all this other shit, right? My shadow side was tamped down by all the shame I carried.
Oof, oof.
Right. That shame is a bitch. That shame
That's
is a bitch.
heavy weight.
It is a heavy weight. But as I was able to confront the shame and then release it, suddenly my shadow side was like, let's go. What you need? What's up? You know? So yes, there is that balance. You know, there's that balance. I know that my fight or flight, that fight, that's my shadow side. Okay. That flight, that's that. I might get my ass kicked. Let me get the hell up out of here. You know what I mean? So there's that balance. But I'm so happy that I no longer have that freeze aspect. You know, fight or freeze.
Right.
Because I was able to work with my shadow side and understand. And when I tell you that shadow side is something else, she is the one who will tell you, you've lost your damn mind. No, I'm not doing it. Nope.
Yes. And I really want to make sure you witches out there, do not, every year doesn't have to be a delve as deep as I can into my shadows.
Yeah.
Some years we're just sort of able to crack the box and we're like, okay, that's it for this year.
Yeah.
All right. And go a little deeper next time and a little deeper. It took us years to get this messed up.
Yeah, for reals.
All right. It didn't happen overnight.
It didn't.
What makes you think in 28 days of a moon cycle, you can fix it all?
Right.
It is going to take years. It's going to take many spring cleanings. So don't overwhelm yourself and think, I've got to, you know, all these shadows. One shadow, deal with it that year. Or that spring cleaning or whatnot, whenever you feel like you need to. But don't feel like you have to do it all at once. All right, start first identifying your own triggers, your own shadows, you know, when you feel self-conscious. Why do you feel self-conscious? Start asking yourself these questions.
And recognize your resentments.
Yes, that's the first part of it, is just talking to yourself. All right, about when you see somebody and you're like, oh, I don't like that bitch. Stop for a second and think, why don't I like her? What is triggering? Am I seeing something of myself that I'm not recognizing in her?
Yep.
Is that truly what I'm looking, you know, and really start analyzing ourselves and writing notes down. You know, it's journaling. I know you witches, some of you don't know where your pens are. Not everybody's a writer. And so if you're not a writer, please ask yourself a question and sit and meditate on it. That's all.
Can I interject?
Yes,
Can I interject? All right, so listen, I am a writer, but I hate writing, right? Okay. So here's a couple things you can do. Get you just a simple notebook. I mean, go to your Rite Aid or Douglas Reed or whatever corner drugstore. Get you one of those little 99-cent composition books that you had to get when you were in kindergarten, right? And just a simple pen. We don't need a lot of pomp and circumstance, because what happens is we spend a lot of money on a journal and a pen that we don't use. We feel shame about that. And it ends up becoming that cycle, right?
That's so true.
Right? So get some cheap shit. All righty. And what I want you to do is I want you to hold a pen in one hand and your journal in the other hand, and then hold it to your chest. And you're going to say something to the effect of, anything I write in this journal helps me to heal, helps me to see clearly, helps me to understand, and helps me to learn to love myself deeper. Right? So therefore, you have now worked your pen and you have now worked your paper. I don't care if you write a sentence. I don't care if you write a paragraph. Everything that you put into that notebook, you have worked or enchanted to set forth the manifestation of healing and self-love and really getting to know who you are internally. And I guarantee you, who you are internally is not the person other people tell you you are.
I love that. Oh, I love, really, because I've heard so many witches went and bought this beautiful book
Mhm.
You know, it's embossed, leather bound, parchment paper. And they're like, I've had it for 3 years. And I open it up and it's blank.
Look, when
And
I
they're
tell
like,
you,
and they tell me exactly what you said. It's so pretty, I don't want to write in it.
yep.
They love their book, but they're like, now they feel shameful that they're not using the book and they're creating a whole shadow over having a book of shadows.
I literally have, so this one book.
Oh, you just turned the camera off, sweetie.
There we go. All right, here we go. No, I had a call coming in. I'm sorry. So these 2 journals are journals that were given to me, right? If I never use them, I have nothing to lose, right?
Right.
One is for my formularies. Okay. So I literally have like recipes of the stuff that I make written in here. Perfect. And here it's just a plain old black one, you know, and this is kind of like where I just write shit, you know, like it could be, oh, what's this? Oh my God, this is actually an incense recipe.
I love my book though for what you're doing. If I'm feeling a little, you know, like needing inspiration, or I feel like I want to a little, I will open my books and just sort of bruise through it. Oh, and it's, I always find things that I'm like, oh, that was a good one. And it gets me
absolutely
different.
Now, for my journals, like my personal writing journals, my daughter bought like a 24-pack case of notebooks, right? So I'll grab one, and I like to write in blue ink because it's a psychological thing for me. You know, blue helps me remember things, or you know, helps me release things. Plus, blue equals calming, so that works too. It's super simple. I try to write 3 pages a morning, and sometimes I can do that for like a whole month, and then I might not write again for 6 months. But when I do my morning dump, it helps me to kind of recognize things that I haven't dealt with. Right. And I got that from a author. Her name is Julia Cameron, and she wrote the book, The Artist Way.
Oh,
it's amazing. It's a great book, and it's very healing.
And also, witches, you don't have to write in complete sentences.
Nope.
All right. You can just, I've got some entries that are just words, where the words in my head, like what you're saying, it tells me where my headspace is. If I'm blurring out a lot of negativity in my words, then I know I need to do some work. Whereas if I'll sit down in the morning and like the first 10 words that come to my brain.
Yeah.
All right. It's almost like this really cool thing of divination on to use yourself with. But the catch is, the catch to this exercise is you can't think. You have to seriously just write down 10 words that come to your brain really quick and not think about them. And then when you step back and look at them, you're going to see some, like what Krystal's talking, that underside of what I need to work on. Why did I write all these words down?
Yep.
And it's a way to help you back to get into your headspace.
You know what else I'll do is if I do a brain dump, or when I do my brain dumps, I tear the pages out and I burn them.
Oh, definitely burn after writing.
Yeah, I don't need to go back because it's a release. Why do I want to pull that back into when I just got rid of it?
There are several things that need to be burned after writing.
Right. Yeah. Yep. Yeah.
That's why we have fireproof cauldrons.
There you go.
I will take that paper and just ball it up and really make that energetic of throwing it away, putting it in the cauldron, and it's done.
Yep.
I'm putting it in a garbage disposal. I'm incinerating it.
Yep.
That's all this energy. And I'm like, yeah. And then when I watch it go up, I'm like, and never more. You know?
Now, if you're anything like me, I really don't like to cry. Right. I don't know many people who enjoy crying.
I mean, cry.
Same here. I'm like the ugliest crier ever. Because when I do, you get in all of this ugliness. Because it's a the first time I started doing when I started doing the morning pages, like I said, that was outlined by Julia Cameron, The Artist Way, right? She says 3 pages, right? So I take that as, you know, One side is 1 page, two side is 2 pages, another side is, the next page is 3. I wrote 3 pages front and back.
Wow.
And by the time I was done, I was like boo-hoo, blubbering, bawling. It was such an amazing release. I was holding on to old things that my subconscious was trying to get me to get rid of because it no longer served me. But for me, it was comfortable. I was so comfortable with that toxic shit that I let it go. It's my norm.
Well, yeah. And also once we start justifying, then we use that as a comfort.
Yeah. Yeah. And getting comfortable with the uncomfortable is just that psychosis, total psychosis. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. But that's what we're doing to our own selves.
Yep. We sure are.
Learning to really recognize it. I'm a Post-it notes. I love Post-it note magic, where I write little things on Post-it notes. I put it on mirrors, I put it on the inside of my kitchen cabinets.
I love that.
And then if I'm working a mantra, it is on my bathroom mirror. So when I brush my teeth, I'm seeing it. I have it on my makeup mirror, where I leave notes to me to keep me on track. Or if like I said, if I'm working a certain energy that I'm wanting to embrace, I want it visually in front of me, is how I work. And this may not work for some of you witches. You're like, I am not putting Post-it notes all over my house. But it's finding out what type of a witch you are. I am very visual. If I see it in front of me, so I've learned over the years to keep these little notes in front of me. And they're just little reminder ways. And that's where each witch, you got to get out and do it. All right. Yeah. And the first time you do stuff, yes, it's not going to work quite right. It never does, but you got to go do it. The next time it's better. The next time it's better, and keep working that energy. We all get frustrated. But sometimes I think it's like divinity is like seeing if you're worthy. Are you really going to do it? Or are you just talking?
Right. 100%. Yeah.
And the reason why churches and temples are up on hills is to remind you the journey there is hard.
It is. But can I just say how I love how this conversation began with all these things to do externally, and then it led to internal work. I mean, and it really is full circle. It's full circle and it's balance. You have to work every aspect, body, mind, and spirit.
Yes. Yeah. And like I was saying at the very beginning, if you want a stronger connection with divinity, you want a stronger connection with your ancestors, you want a stronger, you want to be a big ass powerful witch, it all is in here.
Yes. Yes. So say yes to digging deep.
And so we have to learn to, and start out on a level you're comfortable with. All right. And when we get into ancestral generational healing.
Oh, that's fun. That's the shit. That's the shit that I love. That is my thing right there. I love that.
And understanding how important that is, and starting to look back and see where we have generational hurts and generational toxic behaviors that we are passing on to the next generation.
Yep, it's called collective memory.
And we're not doing this knowingly most of the time. It is unconscious, subconscious behaviors that you started as a child. It was your normal. You're going to pass it on thinking that's normal.
Yep. And it's crazy because, go ahead, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
What I love, so you're talking about this thing in anthropology, it's called collective memory, right? And it's that genetically passed down pain and toxic traits and behaviors, right? And this seems to be the generation in which we get to be the ones to stop doing that and to heal it, and it's crazy.
Do you want to know why I think so?
Why?
This is the first time in history that we've had 5 generations living. We have 4 generations in the workforce.
Wow.
For the first time in history, we have the old people working for the young people. We have young folks that are far more working within the computers, they know, and then we have old folk that don't know what to do in the office anymore, and having to have the young folk teach them.
Right.
And this intergenerational communication is making us realize our trauma.
Yeah, exactly.
And
But so
living long enough to be able to talk to folks, are understand 150 years ago that most women died in childbirth. Child mortality rate was a 50%. Women were taught not to get attached to their children before they were a year or two old. And it was a good thing they were taught that, because they were dealing with half of their kids dying.
Yeah.
But that little seed of don't get too attached to your kid, guess what, guys? 5 generations later, we're dealing with it.
Welcome to emotional disconnection. How you doing?
We're all part of it.
We're all part of it, exactly.
It's come to the party. We've been working on it. But really, when we get into these generational relationships and understanding how also society influenced this. All right, and there was no nuclear family of the 1950s with mom wearing high heels, a pretty dress, and cooking in the kitchen.
No, not at all.
Never existed. There was never a woman, they're all like, oh, she stays home and the man goes to work. No, honey, she was at the home front working while he was doing this. And then at the turn of the century, during industrialization, who were in the factories? Women and children.
That's how Rudolf Steiner started the Waldorf schools, because the cigarette companies or the cigarette factories in Germany needed to have people work them, and the only people who were available were the women. So the Waldorf school was a way to keep the kids close by the mothers while the mothers worked.
And that here in America, when I talk the turn of the century, I'm talking like the 1800s to the 1900s.
Right, because we're in a whole new century now, right?
Right, I'm not talking 20 years ago.
Right.
But at this turn of the century time, we didn't have public schools. All right, that wasn't part of it. A lot of families, poor families, when their child turned 5, 6 years old, they looked at them as a part, that was income. That helped feed family. The child went to work. That's why we have child labor laws now. You're not allowed to hire 7-year-olds. But all of that, where this ideal of the family of mom and dad and 2.3 kids never happened. It is a Norman Rockwell picture. Right. It was created and then it was fed to us. And then in the 1980s, they started, the return to family values and all this other stuff that you're like, that never existed in the first place.
But what's funny about that, so you have the return to family values, but then you also have the influx of crack cocaine into the urban areas. And then, then you on the other side, you have like the nuclear Black family who was completely obliterated. The husbands were going to jail. The women were able to get on welfare, right? Or welfare, social welfare. Right. But the kicker part was the man couldn't live in the house. So now you have the single mother on welfare with these 4 children, maybe, and their father, who wants to be a part of their lives, can't be a part of their lives because he can't live with them. Other words, everything, they're all gonna get kicked off. So there's so many different layers and levels to the tomfoolery and fuckery of society, which is why I truly believe that we are that generation of people who are the actual healers. We're going to be the ones we are the ones who are going to help people heal. And the only way we can do that is if we heal ourselves. We got to start with us. We got to start with us.
And, and the only thing we can change is ourselves.
100%. Yep. Exactly.
and it's when I learn, when I learn better, I can do better,
Yes.
and really getting out, going down those rabbit holes and starting to understand how your particular families, how it was impacted by all these things we're talking about.
Yeah. And we're still feeling it. We still feel it.
But I want to just dispel the myth of that happy family. Dude, that was on TV. It was like watching the Brady Bunch. That's
right.
the only
Yeah.
place it ever existed. All right. And that no, because a lot of times we think everybody else's house is all pretty. I bet they're all nice and happy and having dinner. It's only at my house.
Right.
That it's messed up. And knowing you're not alone.
Yeah.
And for many of us, those generational relationship stories, and like you're saying, and how it impacted, and getting past a lot of the mythology. One of the things when you brought up within the Black nuclear family, do you statistically, a Black nuclear family will stay together longer than a white nuclear family?
Wow.
And the myth, it is a myth. It has been put on us that Black men leave their families. Absolutely not true.
Absolutely not true. Yep.
All right. The reason that they have to not be around the family, like you said, is because the system's rigged.
Yep. 100%. Yep.
And then they can skewer that and go, look at all those single Black women. Their man ain't around. Their man's not around because you figured out a system to keep them away.
Right. So they couldn't be a part of their family. They could not be that protector or that provider, which is what they were supposed to be, quote unquote. Now you have women who are the protectors and providers, the most educated, right? Who are now like, what I need you for.
But when we really get into true statistics, all right, a committed relationship with a Black man is going to last longer than a committed relationship with a white man.
I know that from personal experience.
That's just getting past all of the bullshit skewered statistics and really looking and getting into, when we get into what the true families, that's the truth. All right. But no, they want to, put a spin, put a skewer, because, you can look at some, different facts and twist them.
Look, data analytics all day. The way you look at something and how you present it can be two different things. So can I just state that to all the beautiful witches that are watching this, we're also smart, right? Witches are smart. We have to be able to take a step back and look at the full picture. We have to look at the entire forest instead of just one tree, right? So even this conversation that Tara and I are having, it's like, look at this. We recognize that there are social dilemmas that have been given to us for generations that now we get to kind of work how to figure it out, work how to heal it. How do we get back into actually being a community, not just a group of people who live near each other, but an actual community? Look at inflation. Inflation is insane. I was telling my girlfriend, I was like, listen, I make soap and I know how to make bread. I can barter my ass off if I need to. You know what I mean? And her response was, just stay a proletariat and you'll be fine. Watch V for Vendetta, So it's all these things, right, that we talk about. My sponsor was talking, she's like, well, I've got like 5 sewing machines and a loom. And I'm like, I got 2 sewing machines. So we're literally figuring out how to do things. Now, here's the other thing. We're practical.
Yes.
We have to be practical.
I will have to tell you, that doesn't mean we're logical.
Right. There's that. That is true. Some of us are logical. Some of us are not. We are
very practical.
We are incredibly practical. We have to figure it out. And sometimes you have to work what you know. Like, for example, let's say I didn't have, a black candle, or I don't use black candles. Say I didn't have a blue candle. You know what? I can use, but I always keep white candles. I could work a white candle to do the same thing a blue candle would do. It's just a color. And before we had colors, guess what? They weren't even white. They were like icky color because they were made from suet or beeswax. You know what I mean? So you just kind of, you learn to look at the signatures, like the doctrine of signatures, or like the elements of something, and you use that understanding to work what you need to work, right? Let's say, let's be real funky. Let's say I needed to do, I don't have any paper, but I got a paper towel roll empty. I can use this.
I want you to know, I have a whole collection of little toilet paper rolls and paper towel rolls.
Me too. Yeah.
And I close the end off.
Mm-hmm.
I put a little bit of dryer lint in there.
Mm-hmm.
And then I will put if I know I'm going to be working with fire, I put everything on my paper towel roll with a little bit of dryer lint. And then I close it off and throw it in the fire.
I have a fireplace. So my fireplace is a space of a lot of magical shit, because I will take sassafras, right? Sassafras root and dried orange peel. And maybe a little bit of saltpeter, because I like the poof. Not the boom, but I like the poof. There's a big difference.
I'm like, make sure witches, about an eighth of a teaspoon. If
that. It's like literally 10% of whatever your herbs are. So you should have like a scale. I'm super practical. So if you have, 100 ounces of herb that you ground up, then you should only have 10 ounces of saltpeter around that. Okay. Because other words, you'll go from incendiary to explosive, and you don't want to blow your house up, because that would be tragic. Alrighty. But yeah, so I'll throw that into my fire, because guess what? A fireplace, it's a space where you can work some magic, but that's the same space where, we'll sit and roast marshmallows in my fireplace, and make s'mores.
Because that's what it used to. That's what it was.
Yeah. Yeah.
A lot of times on our older homes, if you take the hearthstone and flip it over, you will see the magical symbols they've put underneath there.
That's awesome.
We have found them up and down our country here on the East Coast.
I love it.
With a lot of our different cabins, settler homes, in the slave quarters, where you flip that stone, the hearthstone over, and it's got protection sigils. It may actually have a psalm, a couple of lines type things, and that's where they cooked at. That was the fire. You did everything. You roasted marshmallows. You're working in there.
But you also made important decisions.
Oof.
Important decisions we always took place around the fire. And even now, when we have gatherings and we, pre-COVID, people would always end up gravitating to the kitchen. You find people leaning up against the counters in the kitchen. It's like, what y'all doing in here? We're just talking. Okay, well, what you talking about? Because the kitchen has now become the space of fire. That's where we prepare our food. So decisions were done, magic was done, fun shit was done, getting rid of evidence was done, so, in the fire, right?
That's right.
Oh my, Taren, this has been so much fun. I love talking to you.
That's what I was getting ready to say, which is we have been talking, and we will continue to talk. I promise I will have Krystal back so we can do a 2.0 on this conversation.
Yes, let me know.
All of you have found some inspiration in this, and please lean into the different things we talked about. Of course, y'all know you can reach out and talk to me, and I do want to real quick I want to thank you, Mary, for your letter that you sent me. That was very sweet of you. It's always nice to get a little letter in the mail, a handwritten letter. That's just magical on its own.
Absolutely.
And so I would say thank you for doing that. I also want to thank Miss Krystal for joining us here today.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
I know we're just talking. We'll be like, okay, we'll just talk all day long.
Right.
Which is, of course, if you are a new witch, welcome home. Welcome home. There is a place for you in our community, but you got to get off the couch and go get it yourself. We ain't
Yep.
gonna give it to you, witch. All right. So you know. And with that said, I hope y'all have as bright of a blessed day as we're having. And as always, it never changes. Amen. Blessed be Ashe and Ebobo.